What's up? Today I'm doing the mid-year wrap-up. It's not just a reading wrap-up for June. Last year I had made it a reading wrap-up as well as a wrap-up of the movies and shows I've watched for the first time and whether or not they're worth a watch, just to keep you guys updated on what I've been experiencing this year in terms of all media, or most media. And, I will be reviewing the 3 books I read in June first, and then we'll be going into give me a second. And then we will be going into the movies and shows. So I'm going to start off with the first book I read in the month of June. It's called One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. You may recognize this title as it was adapted to be a show. I haven't watched the show. I may watch it sometime in the future. But I am aware that this book is part of a series, I believe. It's part of a series. I could be wrong. Let me go and check. It is. The series is 3-ish books long. I think it is exactly 3 books long. I really would love to read the next 2 because I really enjoyed this story. I'm not sure if it follows the same characters. Let me see if it follows the same characters. I don't believe it does. It may follow some of them and not others. This kind of gave me 13 Reasons Why vibes. I'm not really sure. As well as The Breakfast Club. It's basically about 5 students in detention, and one of them has an untimely death, and basically the whole book is trying to solve the mystery. I'm just gonna call it a mystery. It's not a really well, I'm not gonna say. It's a mystery. Oh, sorry about the mic. I just hit the mic. It's a mystery. The tag, one of the tags here says mystery thriller. It's also a romance, and it's also crime. They have it listed as something else here, which I wouldn't really consider to be true. It's a young adult, which means that you'll pretty much go through it really fast. It's a quick read. It's a very interesting read. I would say that the mystery, once you get towards about like halfway through the book, it becomes really obvious what the situation is, and I wasn't swayed by any of the theories that the author was trying to get me to believe. And like I said, it became pretty obvious. I did have some doubts, but for the most part, I would say I was pretty confident in who did what by the middle of it. I'm going to read a little bit of the summary here in Goodreads. It says, pay close attention and you might solve this, which is true. It says, on a Monday afternoon, 5 students at Bayview High walk into detention. Bronwyn the Brain is Yale bound and never breaks a rule. Addie, the the beauty is the picture-perfect homecoming princess. Nate, the criminal, is already on probation for dealing. Cooper, the athlete, is the all-star baseball pitcher. Give me a second. I've got to get my hair out of this bun. This is really bothering me. And then it says, and Simon the Outcast is the creator of Bayview High's notorious gossip app. And I'm not going to go on because it kind of does give some spoilers, but I will say I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I gave it, like I said, a 4 out of 5 stars. Quick read, interesting read. I do plan on reading the rest of the series once I get my hands on it. And, yeah, it's simple, interesting, mystery, thriller read. 4 out of 5 stars. I can't complain. And definitely, if you like 13 Reasons Why or The Breakfast Club, I would totally recommend this read. The second book I read in the month of June is a really important book to read, especially right now, as the financial situation in this world is getting tougher and tougher every day. The second book I had read in the month of June is called, I'm sure you've heard of it before, because every financial expert talks about this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I really enjoyed this book. It was an interesting read. A lot of people might find it offensive and classist, but I don't find it to be that way. It's just the facts of the matter. You can't expect to live a comfortable life in a regular 9-to-5 job. And that's just the truth. You look at what people are getting paid today, and it's just the truth. If you're trying to free yourself from financial bondage, you're going to want to read this book. I found it to be very relevant. A lot of the problems that he addresses are really, to this day, like I said, relevant. There's some parts that stuck with me more than others. Like, for instance, there was a line in the book that his rich dad, which was basically his friend's dad that had mentored those two, and what he said, the love of money isn't the root of all evil, which when he started it off like that, when he started the quote off like that, I was like, are you sure? But then as it went along, it made more sense. He said the love of money isn't the root of all evil. The lack of money is the root of all evil. That's true. That's true for people that are already impoverished in some way or financially suppressed in some way, but it's not true for the rich, okay? The love of money in a lot of cases with the rich is the root of all evil, but that's a totally different, tangent that I could go on, but that quote stuck with me. There were stories that stuck with me, ideas that stuck with me in here. I think he really paints a really great picture of the differences in society of how people view money and view its purposes, its uses, and the ways to go about obtaining it, and the viewpoint on what people should do with it when they obtain it. It was really an amazing read. I will say there's nothing new that I learned. The only thing, financially wise, there's nothing new that I've learned because I've been studying this subject matter for the past 2 years now, roughly, and I'm a quick learner. So most of the financial information that he gave, whatever was in here, was mostly his life story and giving us different viewpoints on how to view money and obtaining it and obtaining wealth, and the ways to go about it and the ways to use whatever. It was to me, this was more of a lesson on perspectives and different viewpoints. I didn't really see it as a 100%, step by step. It's definitely not a step by step, you're going to get rich this way. It was really just a, story of his life and giving us different viewpoints on how to see the world really in this way, financially. And I think that's more what I gained from this than anything else. In terms of what I've been listening to, again, sorry for the messing around with the microphone here. I'm just really uncomfortable today. I don't know why. As far as who I listen to financially, that, outside of this book and outside of, listening to Robert Kiyosaki is definitely somebody you want to be listening to, as well as Dave Ramsey, Gregory Mannarino, Lynette Zhang, and Gerald Celente. Those are the people that you're going to want to be listening to, as well as, more something. I'm sure you've seen his face around 1,000,001 times on Instagram because his videos are everywhere, but that's who I listen to, and that's really who you should probably be listening to get ideas or to be informed about certain things. But yeah, I thought this story was really interesting, and I actually really liked it. And like I said, a lot of people are going to be really triggered by this book, and a lot of people are triggered by this book, and that's pretty obvious in the Goodreads reviews. There's a lot of people that are extremely triggered by this book because he brings up a lot of subject matter that probably hits closer to home to most Americans than they would like to actually admit. One of the things that I think he described really well is the ridiculous idea that people constantly keep having to go back to school, spending more money on school than they probably should, because the quote-unquote education they're getting is not actually compensating for the money that they're losing going to school, and then they're just only becoming more and more specialized, so they're becoming, to me, the more specialized somebody becomes, the less and less valuable they become, because you're narrowing in on one skill set and one skill set only. And if you only have one skill set, most jobs will not have you just focusing in on one thing. Most jobs and most things in life, period, expect, what's expected of you is more than just one thing. For instance, if you have an office job for most of the time, and you're not just going to be typing all day long. They may have you use a printer or take phone calls or whatever, and if all you know how to do is write emails, well, then you've got a little bit of a problem. Okay, that's just a really shitty example, but it's an example nonetheless. I think he nails down the problem with Americans believing that, okay, well, I'll make more money as I go up the ladder when it comes to schooling, and when they get out, they actually realize that's not the case at all, And then they're having to fight for all these different things to basically compensate and make up for the fact that the schooling and what they went in for did not actually pay out like they were expecting it to. And I don't know, I just think he does a really good job at explaining that crisis. And I think it obviously triggered a lot of people here. Like, let me just read a review so you get a chance to understand people that are really, whatever. These are so, like, the loudest people in this comment section are probably the brokest and most quote-unquote educated people. And to me, and I've always said this, education doesn't equal knowledge or wisdom. Those are things that you can't be taught in school, period. Okay? And I know a lot of overeducated dummies. And I'm sure many of you guys do as well. It's just a whole bunch of salty ass people in this comment section here. Okay, this one is the perfect example of what poor people think about this book. It says, probably the stupidest and most overhyped book I've ever touched, rhetorical and biased, opinions without any facts. Kiyosaki tries to convince you that the poor are poor because they make bad decisions or because they just want to remain poor, totally oblivious to the fact that it's a result of oppression and domination in most places. You can't just separate economics from politics and then draw conclusions. Blah, blah. It's just ridiculous. It's total bullshit. That's where the poor liberals pigeonhole themselves every fucking time. If they realize that actually politics plays a role, but right now in the state that this country is in, to try and blame your financial situation on a politician is a joke to me. That's a joke, and that's a lack of understanding and responsibility, financial responsibility. It's just interesting, and it's interesting how they are also twisting his words, because nowhere in the book does he say that they're poor because they make bad decisions. He's just saying that they could, I don't know, I just think people really need to open their minds when it comes to stuff like this. Like, he literally says in the book, like, I'm not trying to put people that are not well-to-do down. He's only stating that, the reason why they're in this condition to begin with is because they refuse to address the situation head on, and because they refuse to look at it a different way rather than ignoring it altogether. Or complaining about it and doing nothing. Like, for instance, when he brings up his real dad, which is the poor dad in this book, okay? When he brings him up, he talks about how he would never address this situation at the dinner table. He would never look at it, and when he did look at it, it was always someone else's fault, rather than looking at his own situation and doing some reflecting and problem solving, that could have possibly helped him out, was to, instead of complaining about the problem, finding a solution. So that's all that he's saying. So these comments to me are just ridiculous. I mean, you can tell they obviously either read the book and probably had smoke coming out of their ears, or they didn't read the book at all, got like 10 pages in, and figured, oh my gosh, like, this is disgusting to me. Whatever. I like different perspectives, and I thought this one was really interesting. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars because it's a really good book. It's a really good book. For somebody that's just starting out, it's a good book. personally, lately, like I said, the past 2 years, I like to get into more complex conversations about the state of finances in the financial world right now. I like more so to keep up with the current news on what's going on. And I've had some deep discussions with people about stuff like this. So to me, Rich Dad Poor Dad is surface level and addresses some of the issues, but it doesn't address all of what's going on. Although I will say in recent times, what compelled me to read this book was his takes on current financial goings on right now, and it basically made me want to read his book that everybody talks about. And I gotta say, I don't think this man has many bad takes, at all. From what I've heard and what I've read, I don't think he has many bad takes, and that's my opinion, right? So I enjoyed it. I also enjoy listening to him in podcast form in current times. So yeah, that's what I would say about that book and him. But I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars, like I said. Definitely would recommend if you know nothing about finances, or if you want to open your mind to things or whatever. Definitely would recommend. The last book and the third book I read in the month of June was called Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. Now, I read this in audiobook form. Funnily enough, about a week or so later, I ended up actually finding the physical copy. So I'm actually going to pull that off my shelf right now and see what I can find on there. So, 1 second. So, I've got it right here. Now, this is a really good book, and it's actually getting turned into a movie, which is coming out later this year. It was originally supposed to have Denzel Washington in it, playing one of the main characters, GH, but he had ended up backing out, and the man from Mockingjay, that plays Boggs, will be in this movie. I think it's coming out this December, but I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Really interesting read. It was a thriller, horror, what I would consider to be post-apocalyptic. They don't have that in the tags here, but this is definitely a post-apocalyptic, for sure. Yeah. So, I'm going to break this down like this. Let me see. It is in the post-apocalyptic aspect of the story. It is extremely similar to The Road in that it does not specify the exacts of what caused what here. They allude to what could have caused this phenomena, but they don't exactly nail it down. Okay? They don't exactly nail it down. Now, the whole premise, and this was published in 2020. I've got the book in my hands. Okay. This book follows a couple and their children. And they're called Amanda and Clay. So I'm going to read the back of the book right now. It says, Amanda and Clay head out to a remote corner of Long Island expecting a vacation, a quiet reprieve from life in New York City, quality time with their teenage son and daughter, and a taste of the good life in the luxurious home they've rented for the week. But a late-night knock on their door breaks the spell. Ruth and GH, the black couple in this story. So Amanda and Clay are white. Ruth and GH are black. They're an older couple. It's their house, and they've arrived in a panic. They bring the news that a sudden blackout has swept New York. But in this rural area, with the TV and internet now down and no cell phone service, it's hard to know what to believe. Should Amanda and Clay trust this couple, and vice versa? What has happened back in New York? Is the vacation home isolated from civilization truly a safe place for their families? And are they safe from one another? Leave the World Behind explores how our closest bonds are reshaped and unexpected new ones are forged in moments of crisis. Now, basically, when it says that all the internet was down, all the TV was down, all the self-service was down, what's interesting about this book is right out the gate, you can pretty much say that this is not an EMP, because other electronics work, the electricity somewhat works, the water is still running, although there's a point in the book where they do try and fill a bathtub because they're expecting it to go out. Really, truly, we are not really told what happens. There's some pretty creepy, and this is why it's also listed horrors, because there's some pretty creepy things that happen in this book that really make you question what happened and what's going on. Because there's let's just say there's really weird phenomena, and that's the way I'm going to put it, because that's what it is, without spoiling it. There's some really weird phenomena that goes on that, your brain goes in a million different directions. Now, could it have been an EMP? Possibly, because after an EMP, I'm not sure if the water would go off right away. It would take some time. So, and then they also discuss in this book openly the possibility of a nuclear event, which could cause, whatever, talking about nuclear, EMP, whatever. But the one part of this book which the author kind of leads us to believe that it's got to be something somewhat supernatural, possibly, is, like I said, the phenomena that occurs in this book, which I'm not going to tell you about because it might spoil it for you. But there's definitely some possible supernatural aspects to this book. It's what I would consider a really interesting take on the post-apocalyptic genre, mixing thriller with horror along with it. So I really enjoyed this, as well as the kind of tense atmosphere that this situation creates with an Airbnb that is not the main focuses, not the main couple's basically home. They're living in someone else's home, but they've rented it out for the week. So there's kind of like this weird, like idea of who's got ownership or who's got rights to the house for the time being, because of the fact that while Ruth and GH owned the place, Amanda and Clay had rented the place for the weekend or the week or whatever it says for the week. And so there's kind of a power struggle too, and there's kind of a hesitancy from both sides to really open up with each other and really trust each other, because it's just a very weird, odd, tense situation. And honestly, guys, I can't wait for the movie. I was so excited when I found out that this would be a movie, because I think that this is going to make an amazing movie. And I'm actually going to see who's in the cast. Okay, so it's going to be Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon. I'm not even gonna try pronouncing Ruth's whatchamacallit name. Ethan Hawke, and the guy that I was talking about, Mahershala Ali. And then they've got some other characters here, which is another thing that I think is done really well. The smaller the cast of characters and the smaller the environment, it makes for, similar to Misery, similar to I think with Jennifer Lawrence. It makes for a very crowded, cramped, claustrophobic read, and I think that's part of the world building. That was a really great part of this book, as far as the world building went, because it really, really locks the story in place with this is the setting, and these are the small cast of characters, and it only makes it more and more awkward as this book goes along. And I really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars, just because I could have probably done without the supernatural stuff. I'm not really a big horror fan, so that wasn't really for me. I went into this going into it thinking that it was just a post-apocalyptic, and that's not the case. It's a post-apocalyptic with a tinge of horror, which, if you like that, or you think you'd like that, then I definitely recommend you read this book. And yeah. So, I enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to see it adapted to this movie. And that concludes the first half of this mid-year wrap-up. I'm now going to get into the show and movie portion of this. So let's go into here now and do this. This year, I'm gonna go through. I'm going to read off the the movies and shows that I've watched so far for the first time this year, and whether or not I thought they were worth the watch. Okay. So let's start off with the movies. And I'm going to do this in the exact format that I did last year. So I'm just going to read the title off, and then I'm going to say whether it was worth it or not. Scarface, worth it. Joyride, worth it. Brothers, definitely worth it. Train to Busan, worth it. Cherry Crush, not worth it. Night of the Templar, not worth it. Wildlife, in the middle. I thought it was a really good performance by Jake Gyllenhaal towards the end. Marilyn Hotchkiss's Ballroom Dancing and Charm School. I thought that was a cute watch. The Wolf of Wall Street, definitely worth the watch. Out of the Furnace, also definitely worth the watch. Margin Call, kind of. Art School Confidential, worth the watch. The Boondock Saints, worth the watch. Boys of Abu Ghraib, worth the watch. EMP 333 Days, not worth the watch. I'm filtering some of this stuff out because it's documentaries. 6, The Mark Unleashed, not worth the watch. It was totally biblically incorrect. Noah, also not really worth the watch. Again, biblically incorrect. Did I get this? Oh, I got them mixed up. The Wolf of Wall Street was, okay. But it wasn't the greatest. So I had said that it was definitely worth the watch. The one I meant to say definitely worth the watch was with, The Big Short. Wolf of Wall Street is alright. I mean, it's a classic, but, The Big Short is the one that I was definitely saying was worth the watch. Shock and Awe, loved it. Totally worth the watch. Fireproof, that was a good movie, worth a watch. Courageous, also really good story, worth a watch. Flywheel, it was shit quality, but it was a good movie, so worth the watch. On a Wing and a Prayer, definitely worth the watch. The Stanford Prison Experiment, definitely worth the watch. Parasite, I hated that movie, I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely hated that movie. Kill me. But I hated that movie. The Perks of Being a Wallflower, not worth the watch. I'm trying to see which one this one was. I think this, let me see if I have this one correct in my mind. Because there's one here that, like, it sounds like I know what it is, but I'm not sure. Let me see. What the hell? That's wrong. Why is this doing this to me? This is just, I don't know what's going on with my thing today. No, I don't want to type that in. God. This is so weird. Oh. Rumors of Wars was totally biblically inaccurate. I actually hated it. Whiplash, worth the watch. I would say that's a unique movie. My Cousin Vinny, definitely worth the watch. The Amazing Spider-Man, I actually told y'all I was never going to watch any of these new Spider-Man movies, but I gave in after like a decade plus of it being out, I think. And this is the one with Andrew Garfield, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. I only watched the first one, though. Flight 93, worth the watch. Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah, worth the watch. The Addams Family, worth the watch. Addams Family Values, worth the watch. Spaceship. Oh, wait, no, that's a documentary. These are also documentaries. Gosh, I've watched a lot of documentaries so far this year. A Star is Born. I hated the ending. Definitely not worth the watch. It'll just get you pissed the fuck off. And honestly, just the undertones throughout the movie, I just hated it. What is this one? Let me see. I've got stuff in here that I'm just like, I don't remember the title. Let me see. Broken Vows. Not the best. Silence. With Andrew Garfield. It was a Christian missionary movie. That's undecided, but I'm leaning towards not worth the watch. Donnie Brasco, worth the watch. Worth, definitely worth the watch. I loved that. We Don't Live in Here Anymore. I absolutely love that movie. It was very raw and realistic, and not realistic in the sense of the situation itself, but it was very, the acting, I would say the dynamics and the way in which the couples interacted with each other was definitely realistic, and I absolutely love that movie. It's probably one of my favorite Mark Ruffalo movies, now, to be real. I absolutely loved it. Loved it. The hell is this one? I'm trying to remember what that one was. Gosh, I'm gonna have to look this up. I'm terrible. I mean, I understand what most of them are, but oh, I know what that one is. I actually don't have to look that up. What Doesn't Kill You? That was actually a good story. I like that one too. It was another Mark Ruffalo movie. He's really, like, there was a scene, again, that's really realistic in the way that he interacted. It was very raw, this movie, and I love that. So yeah, worth a watch. And then Unplanned, I'd say it's worth the watch. So yeah, let's go in here and list off the shows that I could definitely give some recommendations here. And I would say I don't think there's many shows that I've watched this year that I was not impressed with. So, let's go with, The Man in the High Castle. I binge watched all of these seasons early in the year, when I was painting, and I have to say, even though I was painting, I'm telling you right now, that's one of the best shows I've ever watched. I know it's based on a book. Trust me, I've looked for his book for a while and just decided to watch the show first, but I've been looking for his books for a while. Haven't found them yet, but I gotta tell you, that show is literally amazing. Literally amazing. And I've recommended it to people before, for other reasons that I probably won't get into here, but loved it. I'm going to skip over the documentary stuff, because there are some documentaries in here. Medici was absolutely amazing. Ever since I watched that show, I can't stop thinking about it, literally. It's on my mind every day, that show. That's how good it is. I cannot stop thinking about how good that show is. Daisy Jones and the Six, another show that I just can't get my mind off of. I think about the soundtrack every day. I listen to some of the songs most every week. And I just love Sam Claflin's voice. And I love Riley's performance. And all the way around, this show was popular for a reason. The book is popular for a reason. If you haven't watched the show, or if you haven't read the book, what the hell are you waiting for? What are you really waiting on? Seriously. I watched Jesus of Nazareth for the first time this year, and I've got to say, that has got to be my favorite depiction of Jesus Christ on screen. I know a lot of people love The Passion. I'm not going to say I hate it, but I'm probably not the biggest fan of that at all. I loved Jesus of Nazareth, though, and that was not really what I would consider a show, but it's 2-part, so I don't know if you would consider that a movie, but I absolutely loved it. 100% loved it. A Town Called Malice. After seeing Daniel Sharman in Medici, I couldn't get enough. So I watched that, and it's a decent show, but it's nowhere near as good as Bitchute, guys. And from what I heard, the rumor is, and it's not really rumor, it's pretty much confirmed now, is that he'll be coming back to Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah. I know. I can't wait for it either. I saw on Instagram that they had his basically chair on set with the character's name on it. And there's also in the mid-season finale of Fear the Walking Dead, this is the last season, by the way. In the mid-season finale, there's definitely a strong hint towards this character coming back. Troy Otto is coming back, guys. He is coming back. Okay, and I cannot freaking wait. I can't believe they're gonna make me wait all the way till October, November, to make me freaking wait to see this man on screen again. Like, are you really going to make me wait that long? Like, for real, like, I just gotta wait all these months now to see him on screen again. But I'm glad that he's back. I cannot wait to see how he survived. I'm really curious as to how he survived, how he's going to look after what was done to him by Madison. And like I said, it was it wasn't even hint. It was absolutely him. The hands were definitely his hands, in the mid-season finale. There's no doubt in my mind as to the fact that he's coming back. Everything gave a hint towards it, from the hammer to the glasses to everything that was on the table. It was placed there for a reason. They weren't really Easter eggs. It was blatantly in your face that he's coming back. And like I said, there were photos that leaked from set that basically confirmed that he's coming back, as well as the fact that he's also listed on IMDb as it further evidence that he's going to be coming back. There were also, I remember vividly when the trailer came out originally for this last and final season of Fear the Walking Dead, that people had freeze framed on one of the characters in the masks. And even though he was in a mask, it was very obvious it was him, based on the hair, based on the way he carried himself in that one moment. And it was very obvious it was him. And I can't wait to see how he fits into this. And to be honest, it makes sense that he's come back because one of his other, one of the other co-stars from Teen Wolf had made an appearance on this show. She was the crazy girl from the psych ward in Teen Wolf, the one with the really interesting hair, very light skin, almost white. And she had made an appearance as basically the season's new villain, which is interesting. And I just can't wait to see how he fits into this. And I can't wait to see, they already brought one of my favorite characters, Daniel, back. I was so happy when they brought him back. He's literally my favorite character on the show. On Fear the Walking Dead, Daniel has always been my favorite character. Nick close second. Troy definitely close. Close third. But for real, I can't wait. I literally cannot wait. I'm so excited. You have no idea. Let's see what else. I just, again, can't get enough of Daniel Sharman this year. So I ended up watching Cursed as well. And I gotta tell you, I didn't go into it thinking I was going to like the show. The first episode, I was kind of like, what? And then as I went on, I actually really enjoyed it. As far as I'm concerned, Kathleen Langford was not my favorite. I didn't even consider her to be really the main character. I more so was interested in her father in the show, the guy that played her father, as well as the Weeping Monk, of course. Station 11, I gotta say, this is probably the most disappointing show on this entire list. I was extremely underwhelmed. I was extremely just upset at how badly they tore up the source material. They did not, this is one of the cases again where they totally did not respect the source material. I, compared to the book, it doesn't even hold a candle. It's, to me, it's not, it doesn't, it follows the basic plot line of the story, but it veers way off course from just, okay, so let me just say this, okay, Station 11, like I explained in my other reading wrap-ups, is a book about a wandering symphony in the middle of an apocalyptic landscape. This book takes that and makes that the centerpiece and does not focus on the other important aspects of the story from the book. It takes that concept and runs with it. In other words, that is the only thing true to the book in this show. That is literally the only thing you will recognize from the book in this show. The characters, you will recognize, but you won't recognize them really because a lot of this story is just written by the writers and, producing the show, the screenwriters. There's really no respect for the source material. And that's why I have a huge problem with this book, show. There's really no respect for the source material, and it just takes the story and just blows it totally out of proportion. And it's almost as if they wrote their own story based on the book. It becomes, to me, it's totally a totally different story. Most of the time I was sitting through it and I was like, this didn't happen in the book, that didn't happen in the book, this didn't happen in the book, that didn't Now, you've got to understand, as a reader, this is very frustrating to see. We've seen it numerous times and it's really not cool. As a reader, okay, and most people understand, okay, the book is most of the times better than the movie or show. Most of the time. But that doesn't mean that, like, they had total creative license, with the show, and I don't think that's correct either. I don't think that you basically rip off the premise of the source material and then decide not to follow all the rest of the stuff. It's okay to make minor tweaks, like the show Daisy Jones and the Six did. Let me tell you something. Sam Claflin is the perfect and prime example of book to movie adaptations, book to show adaptations now, done the right way. He is the golden example of this, okay? And there it was very little straying from the book in the show. They simplified things, maybe. They wrote a little bit of backstory in, maybe, but none of it truly tarnished the idea of the book for me, and for the what I would say the majority of the fan base behind the book. Everyone loved this show equally because it was a adaptation done right. In the case of Station 11, it is a total and utter disappointment. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. Hope you guys got something out of it. can't believe it's already over the halfway point in the year. It's went by really fast, faster than most years. And a lot of these books and movies have only made it feel like it's went by a whole lot faster. Like I said, I hope you guys got something out of this today. Next month we'll be going back to the regular format, which is just commenting on the books. But because this is the mid-year wrap-up, we had to do all of the recommendations. So with that being said, make sure to share this video, like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, comment down below if you've seen any really good shows or movies this year. Also comment down below if you read any good books in the month of June. I'll update you guys on my Goodreads progress, which I probably should have done in the beginning. Currently, I'm at 20 out of 50 books, and I'm 6 books behind schedule. I was going to try and read, that book by, what's his name? I was attempting to finish the book by Mark Stein last month, but the issue is I really want to focus for that, and I really want to take notes. So the book that I've actually started and am going to, and is my current read right now, is Aurora by, David Cope. And, it's what I would consider a book pretty similar to Leave the World Behind so far. And I'm really excited for this book because it's got a blurb on it by Stephen King. And I actually really like the plotline so far, so I've been enjoying it. So anyway, till next time, bye guys.